Hi, everyone. Set timer 18 minutes. I think that's worked. Someone flagged me with 2 minutes to go, because if anyone's seen my videos, I am not good at doing short videos. So I'm going to try and do what I've been doing for the past 2 days out in the tents. But yeah, I'm not good at short form content, so this is a first. I'd like to introduce the Instro Seashell, which is the new device that we've launched this SUPERBOOTH. This has been quite a long time in the making. I think Instro's officially going to be turning 10 years old as a company next year, which is pretty wild. We're now a team of about 20 of us, so there have been 7 or 8 full-time developers working with me on this for the past 1.5 to 2 years. It's kind of a combination of many elements of the Instro modules that have been developed over the years. For anyone who's familiar with the modules, it might be slightly familiar in terms of layout. So this is called the Seashell, and it's kind of the smaller, condensed, focused version of the CSL complex oscillator. So Seashell's a complex oscillator in a box, essentially. Let me unmute my VCA. Yeah, so we've been trying to figure out how to describe what the Seashell is, because on the surface it's a very playable, top-level analog monosynth with 2 analog oscillators, analog wavefolder, and a very nice resonant low-pass filter, which was the creation of Noe, who's an engineer I've had the pleasure to work with for the past few years. Went through a few hiccups where the first filter I designed for this was using a Vactrol, which is apparently a no-go at this time for distribution. So I gave him a filter that I like the sound of and a very basic template of a Sallen key low-pass filter and said, make this sound like this. And I think he did a pretty good job. So the Seashell, it borrows a lot of elements of the complex oscillator topology that's in the CSL, where we've got parallel hard sync, analog FM. The sync mechanic is directly pulled from the CSL, so this is a currently hard synced top oscillator to the bottom oscillator, where I can engage elements of linear or exponential FM from the top to the top from the bottom while it's synced to the bottom. So this way everything stays tonal. First time hearing on a big system, so it's quite fun. Yeah, this is grown arms and legs as we developed this. The first iteration I kept largely analog, and then added a processor for a bit of software control at a certain iteration, but then it's kind of just continued to grow, and we've added more and more and more to the system. And under the hood, it's able to operate a bit more like a self-contained semi-modular patchable system. And that's through the expansion that we've been able to do this year of integrating full software control. So if we can flip this over, yeah, perfect. This is the Seashell's VST partnered plugin interface, which, as you can see, as I'm opening up filter, adjusting oscillator, wavefolder, all the parameters are mirrored directly in the software, but likewise I can override and take control of the software. and control the parameters from the software domain. So one of the workflows branching out from a more typical Instro modular system is working in the box and using a system like Ableton Live or any DAW, really. So this is the plugin running in VST format. It also runs standalone, cross-platform. And you can treat it like you would pretty much any VST soft synth. So we wanted to try and get this into a workflow that people might work traveling laptop producer and want to introduce a little bit of analog circuitry into the workflow as a sound source. So we see we've got audio coming in on an audio track within Ableton. So the Seashell itself is actually functioning as the sound card. So this is stereo, audio, and MIDI over USB-C. So I've got this set up just as the input and output, although it should technically be coming through my laptop as well. But it's parallel running out from the output of the Seashell itself. So we've built in direct monitor mixing as well. So if you are using it for overdubs or live performance within a software configuration, then there's the ability to get that balance and optimize for minimum latency. So you might hear when I'm whipping the filter like this, there's a little bit of ambience that's holding on the tail of each note. So this is due to a bit of integrated DSP, which was written by Kian, who's somewhere in the audience out there. So Kian, you might know his work. He developed the looper module with me. Yeah, he's been on the long journey of deep diving on delay networks, diffusion networks, reverb DSPs, delays. So this is one of his creations that's built in. That the target of it was to take something along the lines of my approach when I'm patching a mono synth voice within a modular environment. I'll use all-pass filtering or a little bit of spatialization to try and get a stereo field from a mono voice, and then add a little bit of post-processing to add a bit of ambience and space to it. So we've included this in the form of the diffuse algorithm, which takes it from being a very direct mono voice. Let me... So this is the envelope generator being triggered from MIDI notes. The envelope output is actually going into the CV input and opening up my filter and striking the wave folder at the same time. Those are very direct mono sound as I bring up the diffuse. So because the Seashell was, an original intent was I wanted to just sit on the couch with a system and headphones and just make some noise. So, but listening to a sawtooth wave into a filter on headphones can be a little bit draining. So this adds that bit of space and ambience that makes it a lot more comfortable in those sort of intimate contexts. But also, if you're running this as part of a voice inside an Ableton session in a production environment, it's going to have that level of polish and spread off the bat. Cool, so that's me been using the Seashell very much top level, just playing in MIDI notes or using it for tonal drone sounds or more complex timbres. Where it really comes into play as more of a semi-modular system is over on the plugin again. If I hit this extend button, this adds a few more options. I'll reset this. So it adds an additional LFO, which is running under the hood on the hardware, as well as a full 4x4 matrix mixer, which allows you to configure much more complicated patches. Yeah, at the booth, I set up a 3U system of Instro modules and tried to include a range that covered enough bases to mimic what's inside the Seashell. So that was quite a fun challenge to look back and be like, oh, this is actually so much more than just oscillator, filter, wavefolder, envelope. It's got the ability to patch generative music with it even. So it's kind of a true hybrid of analog and digital. We've got the full digital control over oscillator frequencies, wavefold depth, filter cutoff. So this could be sequenced, automated, or controlled via MIDI controllers, direct to TRS MIDI. But also, if you are working with a modular system with voltage, all the top-level jacks are insert points into the actual analog circuitry. So the FM is directly analog over the oscillators, same with the filter, wavefolder. You can be triggering the envelope, which is digital, but if anyone watched the DivKid video recently, there was a patch that freaked out one of Adam, who I think is sitting up there. So I think he was a bit stressed at seeing an audio rate oscillator patched in, but it works. It goes up to a pretty high bandwidth. We've got all the analog outputs. The lower oscillator's got all the geometric waveforms. Top's got the direct outputs at modular level of the wavefolder and filter. But then if I reduce all my analog controls, so take my attenuators down, center my FM, so I'm not got any direct interaction between the oscillators, this allows me to have essentially total recall from the plugin. So I can open up try some of the presets that we were scrambling to get a few together before launching. So there are a few tonal ones here. Classic subtractive brassy sound. I think this is one of my ones where I've got random LFO, so I've selected the LFO as a source in the matrix. This is giving me random voltages, so it's essentially like a clocked sample and hold. I've got this defined to be triggered from MIDI, so every time I strike a note, I'm getting deviations in octaves over my oscillators due to the built-in transposition engine, which is like a quantizer per oscillator. String one. This is quite a nice one where I'm using the MIDI note to essentially gate the diffuse engine. So the notes have got a degree of ambience that's spreading out the sawtooth a little bit more. But then when I release it, it sort of clamps it down a lot more. So quite a wide range of capabilities of patching voices, controlling direct analog signals within a DAW environment. I'll jump to a couple of generative ones to show something that's a bit more self-contained. Here, I think this was Ben, who's, if anyone's emailed Instro, you'll likely have reached him directly. So Ben's been beta testing this during the development cycle. This is just cycling envelopes, a bit of random voltage that is just creating these nice D major arpeggios and sweeps. Okay, see if this one still works. So this is one that I was playing with last night in prep for this. So I've gone for a Dorian minor generative compositional piece here, where I'm using the built-in macro control that's part of the matrix mixer. So the center pot here in the hardware. If I turn this in the plugin, it's represented here, and this will dynamically scale all the nodes of the matrix mixer. So it means you can define a patch and you've still got direct control over a lot of the parameters. So I'm bringing up a level of just around about 4 or 5 hertz, so a bit of vibrato over the two oscillators, and I've got them independently addressed from the core spot control through the scale defined at the transpose engine. So I'll just noodle with this for a bit and give you an example of the Seashell in more of a tonal ambient context, just running this as the entire sound source. End on a nice note. So yeah, feel free to come join us at the booth. We've got a table full of Seashells with a bunch of headphones, controllers. So yeah, we're really excited to hear what people start doing with this instrument. So thanks for coming.